Okay, let's start with Shankster and Carpenter versus Johnson. Okay, that's number 25-187. All right, this is Carpenter and Shankster's petition for anti-harassment order against Johnson. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this is going to go, and this will apply to every case where we have a hearing this morning, so this applies to everybody. In these cases, I'm going to call the case, I'm going to swear the parties in, and then the petitioner will present their case first. The petitioner is the person who initiated the case by filing it in court. I'll listen to what the petitioner has to say. Then after that, I'll listen to what the respondent has to say and make a decision as to whether to issue an anti-harassment order. It's the petitioner's burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that they're entitled to an anti-harassment order or a protection order. During the time that the other party is telling me their side of the case, I'm going to ask that if you hear that other party say things that you don't agree with, that you don't believe are true, to not interrupt them, to just let them tell me their side of the case, because I'm going to give you the same opportunity as well. So when you tell me your side, that other party won't interrupt you either. I may need to ask you questions once in a while just to make sure that I understand what you're claiming or what your defense is, or if I need clarification. And then I'll tell you what my decision is, and I'll explain to you why I made the decision that I did. So the other thing I'm going to ask you to keep in mind is that mostly I'm going to decide these cases based on information that you filed in writing, if you filed in writing. And then the testimony or the statements that you give me here today orally, you don't need to repeat the things that you've already said in writing. If you've made a statement in writing, if you filed that with your case or in response, then it's already part of the record and you don't have to say it again in order to kind of make it real. So keep in mind, I've already got those and I've read them. So. All right, we're going to get started with Carpenter versus Johnson. Carpenter and Shankster versus Johnson. Can I have the parties raise your right hands, please? All right, and do each of you swear the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. I do.
So, Carpenter, Shankster, you are the petitioners here, and go first. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the reason why we're asking for this order, we did provide quite a few, statements with the petition to begin with. But basically, we've lived in our house for maybe 6 or 7 years. During that period, we never had a problem with our neighbor at all. We even, I would babysit her kid. Basically, they would, her kid would come with me to work, hang out with my boys. We never had any problems at all. I became mayor of the town of Bucota about a year ago now. And since then, the town has had some, in my mayoral or work type duties, the town has had some issues that required my neighbor Danielle's water to be turned off due to lack of payment. There's no way that I personally can turn her water back on, but it's gotten to the point where, we've had a 2-week reprieve, which has been really nice, but I haven't even been able to go out. My son will go out to the car, and if Danielle's out there, she will yell derogatory things. And we've submitted evidence from our recording, our cameras, showing that, we can't go outside without her yelling at us, basically. And it's all really inappropriate things that my son shouldn't have to hear me be called, my husband be called. And all while I can't change what the town has decided to do based off of, my neighbor's actions. So that's why we are requesting for my husband, me, and my son the no contact order.
Okay, and I did read that in your petition and the documents you submitted in support of that, and mostly in the form of texts. I think there was one video and a image as well. Okay, is there anything else from either of you?
Can I say that?
No, you said it all.
All right, then, Ms. Johnson, it's your turn to tell me your side of it. I don't think you submitted anything in writing, so just, this is your chance to tell me your side of it. And you're currently muted.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just want to say that first of all, the last name is not Johnson, which they have filed it under, and I would like to say that the reason I contacted her on her personal phone was because I've gone to the town hall and they've told me that they can't help me or to call their lawyer, but they won't give me the lawyer's name. And when it was a hot day, I have the right to ask that my water be turned on, as well as my water has been paid now. And I'm not even allowed to go down to the town hall because it's where she works. But my problem with the whole situation here is in her statement, it states that that she was out walking and my husband pulled a gun on her. And my husband's been incarcerated in Eastern Washington since February of 2024. His DOC number is 745-862. So that whole situation there is irrelevant. And I'm fighting a foreclosure right now that was illegal. I'm going through a lot of things right now, and not having water and this whole situation is not, it's not all right. I have a child in the home, and it's not right. And I can't even pay it. They won't even let me pay whatever's left on it. So, yeah. And I've never said anything directly to them or said, hey, this person or that person. I mean, I could have been talking to anybody. Never directly to them did I say anything, other than when I asked her to turn my water back on when it was hot, and asked her why she went down to the neighbor's house and asked them to call CPS on me. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Do you prefer to be called Miss Brown then?
Yeah, that is my legal name. And
okay. All right, thank you. All right. Well, in a case like this, I need to decide whether I'm persuaded by a preponderance of the evidence that harassment has occurred. And, generally harassment's a course of conduct that's directed at a specific person that is harmful to that person, that seriously annoys or alarms or harms them in their mental or physical well-being, and it doesn't serve any lawful purpose. And that any harm that the person suffers is what a reasonable person under those circumstances would suffer. And so, I'm going to take into account the fact that the petitioner here holds a political office, and that people who are in political office are expected to have to deal with constituents who might not be happy with them. And there might be, heated words, there might be things said that are, pointed and sharp and critical. And that's all part of what it means to occupy a public position sometimes, especially one, a political one. And so that's certainly something that comes with the territory, so to speak. But on the other hand, there are lines and boundaries. And so even if a person is in a political position and they're just out living their lives and running their own business and doing the normal things that anyone would do, and then being subject to basically being accosted on the street or accosted outside of the confines of their job and berated or threatened or tormented, especially about official business. I mean, this business with whether the water is shut off or not is an administrative act that is done in a proprietary capacity by the city utility. And then focusing in on the mayor because the mayor is just the most obvious person who represents the city, and then getting in a position to torment her in her off hours and make her, I can't see this as anything other than an attempt to intimidate her to get the water turned back on, which is happening apparently because you don't qualify to have your water turned back on by the normal process. And that's not okay. That isn't okay to do to anyone in a political position. Even though, as I said, people in a political position are expected to kind of have a tough skin and take a lot of criticism more than probably the average person. But that's not what this is. This is unreasonable. It's not something that a person in a political position should have to tolerate, especially because it's clearly being done as an act of retaliation for administrative acts that are done by the city. And so I do find by preponderance of the evidence that harassment has been proven here, and I am going to issue an anti-harassment order, which I believe will be like the temporary order that was issued a couple of weeks ago. In other words, the provisions of that would be the same. All right, so that'll be my ruling. I'm going to commit that to writing, and then both of you are going to get copies of this order.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, who was that?
that was me. I was just,
Yes.
she works at the town hall, so I can't go down there.
I'm going to address that separately, so just hang on.
Can, yeah.